Democratic electorate. In May, a Fox News poll revealed 62% of Latino voters favored Clinton over rival Donald Trump. Evelyn Perez Badia, analyst with Political Passion, told Fox News Latino there's a more hospitable tone that Hillary Clinton is taking in terms of communicating with Hispanics. Compared to Donald Trump, it's a much different message, simply because it's a fabrication. Snap out of it, fake liberals. The giant boulder of truth just crushed those little plastic lies painstakingly set up to misinform in the name of George Soros and his New World Order stooges. There's a real good reason why Hillary Clinton respected former Senator Robert Byrd, also known as an exalted cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan. John Bound for INFOWARS.com.
Rob Dew reporting for INFOWARS.com at the back of the Toschenberg Palais Hotel. There's an ambulance, I guess, waiting for if Henry Kissinger has a fall or something or drowns in his tub. Who knows? But anyway, we've got Alex from InfoKrieg, a long-time listener. InfoKrieg means InfoWars in German, and he's got InfoKrieg.com and InfoKrieg.de as well.
It's InfoKrieg.tv, it's recenter.com, and you can find us on the web pretty easily.
All right, so one of the things they're talking about in here is this new precariat class, which is, I guess, one step away from absolute peasantry or something, absolute serfdom. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, according to recent numbers, 17% of all European working age people, 17% are without a job. And of course, you know the American numbers, 100 million Americans without a job. So there used to be a lot of talk about the proletariat, the working class, not making much money, but at least having a stable job or a stable work environment. But of course, these guys, they moved a lot of the production overseas, while some of these insider companies, they did not have to move overseas because it's oil business and banking stuff that stayed here. So obviously a lot of jobs are gone, and they're talking about this new low class and what to do with them, because at some point they might get smart, they might get organized or whatever. So their idea is the basic unconditional income. The Swiss people just voted it down. It was this big vote a few days ago, and it was about revamping, completely changing the social security or social system.
Yeah, so giving each person like 2,000, 2,500 Swiss francs a month. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it's different in each country when it's proposed, but I think it was that high in Switzerland. But of course, living cost is higher in Switzerland. Other countries have said it would be more like 800 euros, and it could be 800 euros to 1,000 euros in Germany. So instead of having all these different payouts, these different payments, you get one payment for everyone. So that way they can prolong the secure social welfare system, because it gets cheaper. You don't have to hunt every dollar. You don't have to hunt every euro. You just have a fixed amount of money paid to every person each month. So you can pay the rent, you can pay your Netflix, everything. So that's for one thing, is to keep the new low class, the precariat, happy with that. You get food, you get your rent paid. And so the precariat will defend the new order. And also we've seen companies announcing they're going to return to Europe and return to America with their production, like Nike or Adidas. They've announced they bring the production back home, but it's going to be robot factories. So not a lot of jobs here. So more people in the precariat, more people to keep happy, more people to keep into the system they're going to defend. Because imagine going to someone and saying, we need to change this, you shouldn't be getting this free money each month. But it's going to be cool at first for some people, but it's going to be conditional. They announce it as unconditional, but it's going to be conditional. At some point, you
can't speak out.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, you're going to have to work in some capacity, and before you know it, you're going to have a system that was like here in East Germany.
You're going to be a minder.
Yes.
Walk around and follow people around and report on them to the government.
In this place, in Eastern Germany, it was illegal not to work. So if the government could provide 10 jobs, they would stick 15 to 20 people to do the work of 10 people. just so that everybody had to report to work and go to work, even if they were making stuff that nobody really needed or it was low quality, but it was a requirement for you to work. You were going to prison if you didn't work. And so they're bringing this back, and it's interesting enough that a company that is represented here every year, Siemens, they sold computers to the Eastern Bloc, especially the Stasi. The Stasi was using a Siemens computer up until '87 for the most intimate database of agents and what they provided. And so it's pretty interesting to see that these companies, they were creating the system as we know it. And so here you have like the Western left, kind of the Fabian Society created left, and that was a ploy basically to protect against the Eastern infiltration, because the Eastern Bloc was closed, and today it's closing again. So the West is an open society. So the Western globalists, they were thinking, if we support communism in the East through these companies like IBM, Fiat, all these companies that are at Bilderberg, we build up communism in the East, we have to protect against it in the West. And so they created their own leftist groups that sounded like the Eastern groups, but they were run by the Fabian Society. And so a lot of people, they didn't even know what they were following because they sounded all the same.
You black and support a racist? That's sad. That's real sad. He's against you. Why will you support a racist?
Tell me what he said about African
He's going to send you back to Africa. That's what he said. He said send Mexicans back to Mexico. You are a disgrace to America for being a young black man supporting a racist.
Thank you. Yeah, that is awesome.
That's sad.
That's awesome.
How does your parents feel about you holding a Trump sign?
They're Trump fans too.
Where they disgrace to America too, because he doesn't like you or your
All
parents.
my friends are immigrants. I have 3 friends.
Yeah, you didn't answer our question.
And they're happy.
What has he said?
He said send Mexicans back to Mexico.
No, he said
don't let Muslims here.
Yeah, he said.
Why?
Are you gonna let me talk or are you gonna yell?
No, I'm telling you, because you holding this Trump sign and you need to be taught.
We conversation, can we? We cannot do that, right?
And then
okay.
telling you against your own people.
She just graduated high school, so she's not a kid no more. Okay.
What would you tell him when a racist send Mexicans back to Mexico? What would you tell a young black man?
I only believe that he's going to send illegals back.
Yeah, exactly.
He said in
That's
your
what
face,
he said.
send Mexicans back to Mexico.
He said illegals.
Just illegals.
Illegals.
Only. And
Please,
he's
His wife is not legal. She's from Europe.
She's legal.
How she was born in Europe?
Okay,
why would her husband be running for president?
But she has U.S. citizenship, so that's just because she was born in another country does not mean she has a legal citizenship. That's fine. You don't have to.
You're a real lad. If he's
and I can say the same thing about you, but I would
She was
not.
born in Europe. That makes her illegal. This guy has a very small grasp of reality, and I would say he's the one who is a racist. He's wearing a Black Lives Matter T-shirt, and obviously rejecting all lives matter. So there's the video right now. It's got over 1 million views on our YouTube channel. Probably, I think, on our Facebook post. Other people grabbed it on Facebook, and it's got millions of views on Facebook. Just a young man. His name is Quatarius Manuel. So do you see how it works? Just by standing up and just standing there and letting the opposition talk themselves into a hole, you could really make these people look like fools.
Yeah, that's right.
And so had you been sparring with this guy verbally before, or did this just all happen spontaneously?
So I woke up, obviously, the night before I learned out that Trump was coming to Atlanta. So I decided I wanted to come to go see Trump because he's my candidate, as you can see. And so I went in line with my friend Brett and I and Callie and Mallory. So we were sitting there, and then the guy came to us. He approached us, and he just started attacking us verbally. And then we tried our best to inform him on issues, and he obviously did not know. He called the KKK the KK. He didn't know what legal immigration was. It was just insane. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing was that he wants to ship black people back to Africa. That, to me, was one of the funniest statements I've ever heard from a grown man. And he's not calling shipping anybody back. He's just saying people who've broken the law, illegal immigrants. He's saying, hey, we have to have a system. We have to ship these people back. He goes, we may even allow them to come back in, but we have to kind of clean the slate before we can deal with what's going on in this country. And right now, it's crazy. The border's wide open, the southern border. They're saying there's more illegals pouring over the border now, this year already, than all of last year. And last year was a record year.
Yeah. Like I said, these liberals, they just want free stuff. And Trump is not buying it. He's not buying it. We're not going to continue to let our country we're not going to continue to let our country go to the ground when Trump is our president, because he's going to stop illegal immigration. And people don't want to hear that, because they know when he gets in office, America going to be great again. And the liberal media does not want America to be great based off conservative values. They want America to be great based off liberal values, and that's just it.
I would agree, and I'll lump the Republicans in there with the Democrats who like illegal immigration, because the Democrats like it because it creates a big voting base. And the Republicans like it is because it creates a form of cheap labor that they can exploit. And I say shame on both these groups, shame on exploiting people, because in addition to just bringing people in as cheap labor, how many people are dying just to make that journey because they think there's a glimmer of hope that they can get in? How much of the drug trade is fueled by this? The coyote trade. I mean, we're keeping really bad people in power and in money, well-financed, just by allowing this system to continue.
Exactly, the rate. I mean, look at all these illegal Mexicans. They come in here, and I was I don't know if you know anything about Georgia, but I was in Dunwoody, and then I was out there playing soccer with my friend, and then we noticed some Hispanics come up to us. I'm just profiling, based off what information I was given, using my context clues, something I was taught to do in 3rd grade. But so I used them. I asked them, and they first of all, they didn't know any English. And I was like, well, how old are you? He's like, I'm 15. It's like, okay, what school do you go to? I'm 16. I want to know what school you go to. He's like, we're not going to school yet. We're just working. I was like, so how did you get here? He's like, I got here 2 weeks ago. It's like, how? He was like, he couldn't give me answers because he didn't learn English. So I just assumed he was illegal. I was like, where are you from? He was like, well, my cousin's from Mexico. I'm from Guatemala. And I said, well, why are you here? He was like, we come here because it's a better opportunity. I said, well, are you legal? Do you have ID, a citizenship or anything? He was like, no. And then that's when some more started coming towards me. And, basically, I think it was one guy, he knew a little English, and he was like, why are you confronting my friend? I was like, because he's illegal. And I don't agree with illegal immigration. So long story short, we ended up reporting the guy to the police officers, and the police got the guy in custody. I don't know anything about him now, but yeah, it just shows you how much they come over. They're making their way to Georgia now. So
there was a report last week of an 18-wheeler driver who just stopped in the middle at a rest stop, and it was on his way, I think, to some other city. He was coming from El Paso. He stopped in the middle, let out a whole truckload of illegals, and they were just wandering around the truck stop. They didn't even know where they were. I mean, this is not right on so many levels. So people who sit there and say illegal immigration is good, it's not doing anything. It's not helping any side of the equation. And it's also driving down our wages, if people want to look at it that way. But what got you into Trump in the first place? What really attracted you to him?
So originally I've been always Republican. I grew up in a conservative home, obviously in Georgia, suburbs of Georgia. I did not like Trump at first. I mounted to dislike him. He was my second option. My number one option was Ted Cruz, because I thought Ted Cruz has conservative principles that I was for, as far as like free market, stuff like that. That's true conservative on the economic side. You know what I mean? So, and I thought he had this great Christian belief, because I am an evangelical Christian. I love Christianity. That's just my religion. And I thought Ted Cruz was the closest guy to Reagan. That's what I thought. And then I thought Ted Cruz spoke to the people. I thought he was more than just a politician, because he was the outsider. I mean, like, I don't know if you knew, but everybody knew that Ted Cruz was not liked in Washington because they didn't like his ideals. And so I thought he was the guy that I needed to take on Washington with his conservative values. And then when he dropped out, when he lost Indiana primary, I was devastated. I was like, oh my God. And then also what made me influence my decision, if you saw the latest polls that CNN and Fox were coming out, Ted Cruz was beating Hillary by over like 11 points. And Donald Trump was losing to Hillary by like 16. So I was like, well, where's Donald Trump path to winning the presidency? So I thought about that too when I was picking my candidate at first. And anyway, so I had Ted Cruz, and he dropped out. I was a little lost. So I took a 2-week break from politics. And then I started researching into Donald Trump. And I started researching into why the liberal media portrays Donald Trump this way when he's really not. I mean, he has some of the biggest black supporters. You have Herman Cain. I mean, you can just go on and on, but that's just one big guy. And